Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today, we are continuing our coverage on this 95th day of fighting between the Russian Federation and Ukraine. And there has been some requests to cover the ongoing operations taking place around Mykolaiv and Kherson. And I've brought up the tactical map of that area of operations. And first and foremost, we'll have a look at the Ukrainian force disposition that run roughly from Mykolaiv all the way to the Dnieper River to the northeast of that locale. So first, the lines extending from Mykolaiv to the northeast are fairly stable in terms of the prospect of a new Russian offensive. As we know, that in the early part of the conflict, these areas is where some of the Russian forces had their most success. And we have seen Russian both forces coming out of the Crimea and then obviously airborne VDV formations having a fairly good success earlier in some of these engagements. And then as the situation continued to unfold, and the Russian forces struggled in other areas, we slowly saw this area become more or less static, especially in the area near Mykolaiv. Right now, in terms of forces, the Ukrainians have in this area of operations roughly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 combat brigades, including a security, National Guard, police security brigade, kind of to the northeast, in conjunction with some of the nationalist battalions and regiments that are operating with those forces as well. But right now we are seeing a limited Ukrainian counteroffensive to the northeast of Mykolaiv, and that those forces involved in that operation are predominantly both the nationalist forces and air mobile forces from the 80th Air Mobile Brigade. Do we anticipate that this counteroffensive by the Ukrainian military will create additional problems for the Russian military? Will the Russians have to deploy additional forces to this area to prevent further gains by Ukrainian forces? Possibly, but unlikely. Right now, we are seeing Russian tactical air assets coming into play, which has had the tendency to reduce some of these counteroffensive operations, especially in these areas by Ukrainian forces. The terrain in this area is very open. There is not a lot of foliage. The Russian tactical air is able to, in many occasions, identify some of these offensive operations by Ukrainian forces, and then launch stopgap measures to prevent a further Ukrainian push and retaking of those areas by Ukrainian forces. Again, these are more or less localized offensive operations. We're not seeing multiple brigade type operations that would directly threaten a move towards the Dnieper River or Kherson itself. The Russians continue to maintain supplies into Kherson via bridgeheads over the Dnieper River, and we don't anticipate a lot of changes in terms of either the gaining or losing of territory by either side. We could see, obviously, some localized gains by Ukrainian forces. We continue to see artillery strikes continuing. We continue to see Ukrainian forces dug in near Mykolaiv, as we have seen Russian forces dig in to the west and northwest of Kherson. And we continue to see Russian forces launch airstrikes deep into Ukrainian territory or along the line of contact, which you would call that now, in terms of the continued Russian foothold that is west of the Dnieper River. But yes, there is a ongoing and has been an ongoing Ukrainian operation, again consisting of elements of the 80th Air Mobile Brigade in conjunction with some possible territorial units, and to the western flank of the 80th. Obviously, you have the 60th Motorized Rifle Brigade, and to the south west of the 80th, you have the 14th Mechanized Brigade, which also could be lending additional support to in this limited counteroffensive by Ukrainian forces. But that's what's going on right now in the Kherson area of operations. Again, not a big component of the ongoing war at this point. Neither side really appears to have the assets to threaten either side's hold on what they currently control. The Russians right now would have to provide a lot more strategic reserves into this area of operations to make a push towards Mykolaiv. And we don't anticipate at this time, that occurring. We think for the most part, the status quo will continue to exist in this area. Now, we could see additional operations by the Russians further to the east, northeast, near Zaporizhzhia. Obviously, you can't see that on this map, but there was a request for information about what was happening in Kherson. Yes, there is a Ukrainian counteroffensive taking place, and do we think it is going to result in the catastrophic failure of Russian lines on the western bank of the Dnieper River? Not at this time. Don't see that happening. But stay tuned. We'll continue to monitor the situation, and obviously, if anything changes significantly in this area of battle, we will absolutely report either way on what's occurring. And again, thanks for joining us. Have a great day.